Welcome to Europe, Poverty Edition. Did you know that despite being a continent known for its wealth and prosperity, Europe has a surprisingly large wealth gap? It's true. The richest 1% of Europeans hold a disproportionately large slice of the pie, leaving millions struggling to make ends meet. It's a tale of two Europes, and frankly, it's a bit of a bummer. Now, we could spend hours dissecting the complex socio-economic factors at play, but instead, we're going to focus on a specific group of countries, the 10 poorest in Europe for 2024. We're talking about nations grappling with high poverty rates, unemployment, and a whole host of other challenges. Get ready to learn about the realities of life in these often overlooked corners of Europe. Buckle up, it's going to be a bumpy, thought-provoking ride. First up, we have Moldova, a small landlocked nation sandwiched between Romania and Ukraine. Now, Moldova consistently ranks as one of the poorest countries in Europe, with a poverty rate that would make even the most optimistic economist wince. Why is Moldova struggling so much? Well, imagine an economy heavily reliant on agriculture, a sector notoriously vulnerable to things like, drought and fluctuating global prices. Add to that a history of political instability, corruption that would make a FIFA executive blush, and a mass exodus of young people seeking better opportunities elsewhere. And you've got yourself a recipe for economic stagnation. It's like Moldova is stuck in Europe's waiting room, hoping for a chance to join the party, but constantly being passed over for the more economically attractive guests. Our next stop takes us to Ukraine, a country that needs no introduction these days, but sadly not for the right reasons. We all know about the ongoing conflict, the human toll it's taking, but what about the economic fallout? Spoiler alert, it's bleak. Before the war, Ukraine was already grappling with its fair share of economic challenges, but the conflict has exacerbated existing problems and created a whole new set of nightmares. We're talking about destroyed infrastructure, disrupted supply chains, and an exodus of businesses and investors who are, understandably, a bit spooked by the whole war thing. It's a heartbreaking situation, and rebuilding the Ukrainian economy, even after the conflict ends, is going to be a monumental task. Let's shift gears to Kosovo, Europe's youngest nation, having declared independence in 2008. Now, being a new kid on the block comes with its own set of challenges, especially when you're trying to build a functioning economy from scratch. Kosovo is grappling with high unemployment, particularly among young people, many of whom are just entering the workforce and finding not a lot of options. This lack of opportunity can lead to a whole host of other problems like brain drain as skilled workers pack their bags and head for greener pastures. It's a classic chicken and egg situation. Kosovo needs investment to create jobs, but investors are often hesitant to put their money into a country with high unemployment and political uncertainty. Albania, from isolation to aspiration. Next up, we have Albania, a country that was once synonymous with isolation and communism. After emerging from decades of authoritarian rule in the early 1990s, Albania has been on a long and winding road to economic recovery. However, despite some progress, Albania still faces significant challenges, including poverty, corruption, and a lack of infrastructure. Imagine trying to attract foreign investment when your roads look like they've been through a cheese grater and your power grid is held together by duct tape and prayers. It's not ideal. Despite these obstacles, there's a sense of optimism in the air. Albania has a young and vibrant population eager to embrace change, and with the right investments and reforms, the country has the potential to turn things around. Chapter 5. Bosnia and Herzegovina, still healing, still struggling. Our journey through Europe's poorest countries takes us to Bosnia and Herzegovina, a nation still haunted by the ghosts of war. The Bosnian War, which ravaged the country in the 1990s, left deep scars, both physical and psychological, and its impact on the economy is still felt today. Bosnia and Herzegovina is grappling with a complex political system, high unemployment, and a lack of investment. It's like trying to solve a Rubik's Cube while riding a unicycle on a tightrope. Difficult, to say the least. The country's economy remains fragile and progress has been slow. It's a stark reminder that the wounds of war run deep and that achieving lasting peace and prosperity takes time, effort and a whole lot of international support. Chapter 6, North Macedonia, landlocked and left behind. Let's talk about North Macedonia, a small landlocked country in the Balkans. Being landlocked can be a real economic buzzkill, especially if your neighbors aren't exactly known for their free trade policies or their well-maintained transportation routes. North Macedonia's economy is heavily reliant on agriculture and low-wage manufacturing, which, let's face it, aren't exactly pathways to rapid economic growth. The country also faces challenges like corruption, a lack of skilled labor, and a brain drain that would make a civ jealous. Despite these obstacles, North Macedonia has made some strides in recent years. The government has implemented some reforms aimed at attracting foreign investment and improving the business climate, so there's hope yet. Chapter 7, Serbia, caught between East and West. Our next stop takes us to Serbia, a country grappling with its identity in a rapidly changing Europe. Serbia is often described as being at a crossroads, caught between its historical ties with Russia and the allure of closer integration with the European Union. This geopolitical balancing act can make it tricky to attract foreign investment and navigate the complex world of international trade. Add to that a legacy of conflict, high levels of corruption, and an economy still struggling to transition from a socialist model, and you've got yourself a recipe for economic uncertainty. Despite these challenges, Serbia has a lot going for it. It has a young and educated population, a strategic location, and a government that's at least talking about implementing reforms. Chapter 8, Montenegro, from postcards to poverty lines. Montenegro, a country known for its stunning Adriatic coastline and picturesque mountains, might seem like an unlikely candidate for our list of Europe's poorest. But beneath the surface of those postcard-worthy landscapes lies a country grappling with poverty, inequality, and an over-reliance on tourism. Now, tourism can be a fickle mistress. One minute you're awash in euros from sunburnt tourists, and the next minute a global pandemic hits and your entire economy goes into hibernation. Montenegro learned this the hard way, and the country is still struggling to diversify its economy and create more resilient sources of income. Montenegro's story is a reminder that even in the most beautiful corners of the world, poverty and inequality can lurk beneath the surface, and relying too heavily on a single industry can be a risky bet. Chapter 9, Armenia, at Caucasus Crossroads. Our penultimate stop takes us to Armenia, a small landlocked country in the Caucasus region. Nestled between Turkey, Georgia, Azerbaijan, and Iran, Armenia knows a thing or two about being at a geopolitical crossroads. And let's just say that being surrounded by countries you don't always see eye to eye with can make economic development a tad tricky. Armenia is grappling with poverty, unemployment, a legacy of conflict, and a brain drain that would make a colander look watertight. The country's economy is heavily reliant on remittances from Armenians living abroad, which, while helpful, isn't exactly a sustainable long-term strategy. Despite these challenges, Armenia has a resilient population, a rich history, and a growing tech sector that offers a glimmer of hope for the future. Chapter 10, Georgia. From Soviet shadow to uncertain future, our final destination is Georgia, another Caucasus nation navigating the choppy waters of post-Soviet transition. Georgia has made some impressive strides in recent years, implementing reforms, tackling corruption, and attracting foreign investment. However, the country still faces significant challenges, including poverty, unemployment, and a simmering conflict with Russia over the breakaway regions of Abkhazia and South Ossetia. It's like trying to bake a cake while your neighbor keeps setting off fireworks in your kitchen. Distracting, to say the least. Georgia's future hangs in the balance, caught between the promise of closer ties with the West and the looming presence of its former imperial master. Only time will tell which path Georgia will choose and what it will mean for its people. Utero, a call to action, don't just scroll, do something. So there you have it, a glimpse into the lives and challenges faced by people in the 10 poorest countries in Europe. We've explored the complexities of poverty, the lingering effects of conflict, and the uphill battle for economic stability. It's heavy stuff, right? But here's the thing, awareness without action is like a car without an engine. It looks nice, but it's not going anywhere. So what can you do? Well, for starters, don't let this be the end of your journey. Educate yourself further on these issues, support organizations working on the ground, and challenge your own preconceived notions about poverty and inequality. Remember, change doesn't happen overnight, and it certainly doesn't happen by accident. It takes a conscious effort from all of us to create a more just and equitable world. So let's get to work, shall we?